My dad died 6 months ago, and I'm still not sure how to exist in a world where he doesn't. The grief's been bad enough, but now I'm stuck in this nightmare where the person he trusted most is using my little brother as a weapon. Let me explain. Dad had been sick for years, cancer that ate through him slowly. By the end, it was just me and my half-brother Luis at his bedside. Maria, his wife, not my mom, they married when I was a teenager, had already moved back to her hometown 4 hours away. They'd been separated since Luis was born. I never asked why. Dad's will left me his fishing boat, the one he'd taught me to navigate when I was 8. Luis got Maria as his legal guardian, which would have been fine if she hadn't ghosted him for the first 9 years of his life. When the social worker called to ask where Luis should go, Maria didn't answer her phone. So I took him. Sold the boat to cover his therapy and a tutor because he'd stopped turning in homework after Dad's funeral. The boat money wasn't much, $15K, but I put every cent into an account for Luis, or so I thought. Last week, Maria called, not to check on Luis, to demand I pay her overdue rent. She claimed her pension wasn't enough, that she'd lose her apartment. My aunt later told me Maria's pension is $3 a month. The average rent in her town is half that. I said no. That's when she threatened to tell Luis I stole his inheritance. He's 10. He doesn't understand probate or guardianship. All he knows is the boat's gone, the one he and Dad would take out every Sunday. He started asking about it 2 days ago, voice shaky. Why'd you sell it? Dad said it'd be mine someday. Maria's been calling him after school. I found receipts in his backpack yesterday, a designer watch store in Maria's city. The dates match her rent due dates. When I texted her, she said the watch was a gift from a friend. Then she hit me with the guilt. In our culture, family supports each other. You're neglecting your duty. Our family's Mexican-American, so am I. But I also remember her refusing to visit Dad at the hospital, how she'd yell at him for wasting money on treatments. The texts from relatives started flooding in. Family is forever. Don't let money divide you. None of them took Luis when he had nowhere to go. None of them sat with him as he sobbed through night terrors, screaming for Dad. Luis's teacher called this morning. He threw a chair in class, accused me of hating his mom. When I tried talking to him, he smashed his dinner plate. You're not my real sister, he screamed. The worst part? He's right. We share a dad, but I didn't meet him until he was 3. Maria kept him away. My fiancé thinks mediation could help. Maria won't agree unless I apologize and pay her. Apologize for what? Taking in her son? Using the boat money for his tutor instead of letting it rot in the marina? Then I found Dad's paperwork. Luis's savings account was supposed to be in my name. Instead, Maria's on it. The $15 from the boat, down to $2. The bank said she withdrew it for education costs, but Luis's tutor hasn't been paid in months. I confronted her. She said I'd never understand the pressures of motherhood. Her voicemail tonight, send the rent money or Luis comes home with me tomorrow. You'll never see him again. He's locked in his room right now, crying. I don't know if he's scared of her taking him or scared of me failing him. All I know is I can't lose him. Not after Dad. Not after everything. But how do you fight someone who's mastered guilt like it's a language? Maria's not just threatening me. She's rewriting Luis's reality. And I'm stuck between a kid who thinks I'm the villain and a family that thinks I'm selfish for wanting to protect him. I don't know what to do. If I pay her, she'll keep coming back. If I don't, she'll take him. Either way, Luis loses. And I'm so tired of watching him lose. Posted by you/anonymous community. R. Am the Asshole, 1.2K. Upvotes, 15.3K. Now for the first update. It's been 3 weeks since I posted, and I wish I could say things are better. They're not. They're worse in ways I didn't think possible. After Maria threatened to take Luis, I drove to her apartment. Not to pay her, just to see where she lived, to understand. Her neighbor caught me staring at her door. Asked if I was another one of Maria's friends here for the parties. Turns out she wasn't evicted for missed rent. The landlord kicked her out for noise complaints. Weekend-long gatherings with strangers. Empty liquor bottles left in the hall. The neighbor said Maria bragged about getting a payout soon. I didn't tell him that payout was supposed to be my brother. Luis had been quieter than usual, clutching his school laptop like a security blanket. I shouldn't have looked, but when he fell asleep mid-sentence on the couch, I opened it. There they were, emails from Maria. Tell your sister you threw up, one said. If she doesn't take you to the doctor, we can show the court she's neglecting you. Another, stop eating dinner. Say she doesn't feed you. The dates matched the week his teacher called about him fainting in class. I'd made him soup that night. He'd refused to touch it. The lawyer wasn't surprised. Biological moms get sympathy in family court, she said, flipping through the printed emails. Unless there's bruises or meth labs, judges assume they're trying their best. She said we needed more. More proof, more time, more money. All things Maria knows I don't have. She showed up yesterday. Not alone. A sheriff's deputy stood behind her, hat in hand. Maria demanded Luis, waving a custody order she'd rushed through some backwater county court. My hands shook so bad I dropped the temporary guardianship papers from Dad's will. The deputy scanned them, sighed. "Ma'am," he said to Maria, "you'll need to challenge this legally." She lunged at me then, screaming about kidnapping. Luis watched from the stairs, backpack still on, face blank. He hasn't spoken since, not a word. His teacher called this morning. He wet himself during math class. Sat there, silent, as the other kids giggled. He's 10. He hasn't had an accident since he was 4. My aunt came over last night with tamales and guilt. "She's been making me send $500 a month," she admitted, tears in her pozole. Said your dad owed her for raising Luis. But Maria didn't raise him. Dad did. She left when Luis was a baby, called him too much work. Auntie showed me the Venmo history. $500 every 10th of the month, like clockwork. Maria's demands started 3 months after Dad's diagnosis. The bank let me add my name to Luis's savings account, requiring both our signatures for withdrawals. The manager confirmed Maria forged my signature on the previous ones. Education costs, my ass. The tutor's invoices are piled on my desk, unpaid since January. When I told Luis the money was safe now, he slammed his door. This morning, he threw a chair at me. "Mom says you're stealing my money," he yelled. The chair missed. His words didn't. The lawyer mentioned financial elder abuse. Dad's name, Maria's hands. I spent last night digging through his medical files, credit card statements from his final months, charges at luxury spas, resorts, all while he was bedridden. I texted Maria the receipts. Her reply, "Prove he didn't want me to have it." Dad couldn't hold a spoon in his last week, but sure, he totally booked you a weekend at Canyon Ranch. Luis's therapist quit yesterday, called me in a panic. Maria threatened to report her for brainwashing Luis. "I can't risk my license," she said. Luis doesn't know yet. He's been asking for her, scribbling notes instead of talking. I find them crumpled in his trash can. Is it my fault? Why doesn't Mom love me? Work put me on probation. Too many days off for court, for therapist meetings, for calming Luis after the sheriff came. My fiancé picks up extra shifts to cover bills. He offered to sell his car. I said no. He shouldn't have to pay for my family's mess. Maria's shifted tactics. Now she tells Luis I'll abandon him. "Like she did with your dad," she whispers to him on calls. He started hoarding food in his closet. Crackers, juice boxes, a rotting banana. I found him trying to stuff a dinner roll into his backpack. "In case you leave," he wrote on his notepad. The police wouldn't take the forgery report. "Civil matter," they said. They didn't see the way Luis flinches when my phone rings, how he stares at doors like they might swallow him. Last night, I heard him creep into my room, stood frozen in the doorway, moonlight catching his tear tracks. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Then he ran back to his bed. I don't know what he's apologizing for. For the chair? The silence? For existing in this mess? I'm so angry I can't breathe sometimes. At Maria, yes, but also at Dad. Why did he leave her in charge? Why didn't he see who she was? And why does Luis have to pay for all of it? The lawyer says we're building a case, that the elder abuse charges could stick, that the forged signatures matter. But it's slow, and Luis is running out of time. Every day, Maria chips another piece of him away. I can't fix what she's breaking. I don't know if I'm helping him or making it worse. All I know is I can't stop. Even if he hates me, even if the whole family thinks I'm tearing us apart, that $15 from the boat is down to $8K after legal fees. I'd spend every penny to hear him laugh again. He's still not talking. But he left a note on the fridge this morning. "Can we have pancakes?" It's something I used to make him every Sunday. Maybe it's a peace offering. Maybe he's just hungry. I'll take it. Community Arsh Best of Redditor Updates. Replies 2.4K. Upvotes 22.1K. Now for the second update. It's been a month since my last update, and I'm not even sure where to start. Some days it feels like Maria's playing a game where she invents new ways to destroy us, and the rules change every time I blink. The $20K custody offer came in a text. No hello. Just a dollar amount and final chance to do the right thing. My lawyer says it's a scare tactic. Maria knows she's losing, so she's trying to cash out. But when I saw that number, part of me wondered, could I borrow it? Sell my car, take a second job, anything to make Luis safe. Then I remembered the tutor's unpaid invoices and the way Maria's voice sharpens when she says my son, like he's a handbag she left in a coat check. 2 days later, Luis's school called. Maria had enrolled him in her district using a forged lease agreement. The secretary said he's been withdrawn effective immediately, like she was canceling a gym membership. I drove there in the middle of a work meeting, still wearing my headset. Saw Maria's car parked by the pickup line, Luis standing beside it with his backpack half open. He looked relieved, scared, I don't know. I parked sideways, blocking her in. Maria honked, screamed something in Spanish I couldn't hear over the kids laughing. Luis's teacher later told me he'd packed his desk that morning, told his friends he was moving to the beach. Maria's town is landlocked. The restraining order happened because of my car, or rather, the lack of it. I came out of the grocery store to find a 4-foot scratch along the driver's side. Deep, deliberate. Luis sat in the passenger seat, silent, staring at his knees. Security footage showed Maria, key in hand, glancing at him before digging into the paint. When the judge asked Luis if he saw what happened, he said, "Mom said it's your fault we're poor now." The way he parroted it, flat, robotic, made the bailiff wince. Digging through Dad's files, I found the death certificate. Or rather, didn't find it. Maria never filed it. For 6 months, she's been cashing his pension checks, using the money for God knows what. The state investigator's voice went tight when I told him. "That's felony-level fraud," he said. I didn't feel vindicated, just tired. Luis's nightmares got worse. He'd wake up sobbing, choking out words between gasps. One night, he clawed at my sleeve and whispered, "She said you'll die too if I stay." Maria told him Dad got sick because I didn't take care of him, that I'd let the germs in. He's 10, he shouldn't have to carry that. The bank records came in a thick envelope. Subpoenas work, turns out. $12 at casinos, $3 at Louis Vuitton, a $400 dinner for one at a steakhouse. Meanwhile, Luis's shoes are held together with duct tape. I showed him the receipts, careful to block the numbers. "This is where your money went," I said. He stared at the casino line items. "Mom said you took it," he muttered, but his voice wavered. At the family barbecue, I didn't plan to confront her, but there she was by the grill, flipping burgers like she hadn't tried to kidnap a child. I held up the bank printouts. "Explain this," I said. Maria laughed, loud enough to draw cousins away from the potato salad. "You're so whitewashed," she sneered. "You think money matters more than familia?" The irony, her draped in a Gucci belt, me in Walmart jeans, wasn't lost on the aunts. Half of them nodded. The other half avoided my eyes. Luis started leaving notes, not the scared ones from before, short, practical asks. "Can you wash my Batman shirt? We're out of cereal." Then one taped to my laptop. "I want to stay, but Mom says you hate me." "Please don't." I found him hiding in the laundry room, knees to his chest. "I don't hate you," I said. He pressed his face into a towel. "Promise?" Maria showed up at my job. My coworker messaged me. "Some lady's yelling in reception about her pension?" By the time I got there, HR had her by the elevators. "You owe me," she shrieked. Luis's school photo flashed on her phone lock screen, the one she never attended. The state froze her pension the next week. Suddenly, my phone blew up with relatives. "How could you do this to her?" "She's your family," my aunt called, panicked. Maria's demanding loans, threatening to expose old secrets. "I can't do this anymore," my aunt said. I wanted to scream, then stop, but I know how Maria digs under your skin, makes you feel small and guilty for breathing. Luis agreed to a new therapist after I pinky swore Maria wouldn't come. "Not even if she cries?" he asked. "Not even then," I said. He drew a stick-figure family in his notebook. Me, Luis, Dad as an angel, no Maria. Legal fees ate through the boat money. My fiancé offered to postpone the wedding, use his savings. I said no. He's already picking up my slack, cooking dinners, calming Luis when I'm too angry to speak. The other night, I found him scrubbing the keyed car with baking soda. "It's just a car," he said, like that makes it okay. Maria's lawyer called with a generous offer. Drop custody for $10. Mine laughed. "She's desperate," she said. I almost felt bad. Then I found the photos on Luis's phone. Maria's apartment, sent as a fun tour. A closet full of purses, a pyramid of champagne bottles. No bed for him, just a couch with a stained pillow. Yesterday, Luis hugged me. Not a side hug or a quick squeeze. A real one, arms locked around my ribs, face buried in my shoulder. He didn't say why. I didn't ask. I don't know what happens next. The courts are slow, and Maria's getting reckless. But for the first time, Luis left his door open last night. Small win. I'll take it. U/anonymous. Community /best of Redditor updates. Upvotes 22.1K. Now for the final update. It's been 2 months since my last update, and honestly, part of me was scared to write this. Not because things are worse, they're not, but because saying it out loud feels like poking a bruise. You keep waiting for the ache to flare up again. Maria was arrested on a Tuesday morning. I just packed Luis's lunch, peanut butter sandwich, apple slices, a note with a doodle of our dog, when the detective called. "We've got her in custody," he said. "Fraud, forgery, witness tampering." Luis was tying his shoes in the hallway, backpack zipped up tight like always. I muted the phone. "Hey," I said, crouching next to him. "They found Maria." His hands froze on the laces. "Is she going to jail?" he asked. I nodded. He stared at the floor for a full minute, then said, "She lied about everything, even the Disneyland trip." Turns out there was no trip, just a selfie she took in front of a green screen. The state stripped her custody rights that week. The judge cited coercive manipulation of a minor, fancy words for telling a kid his sister's a monster. When the lawyer called to confirm, Luis was elbow deep in dishwater, scrubbing the pan I'd burned last night. "Does this mean I can stay forever?" he asked. I told him yes. He dried his hands on his shirt, walked over, and said, "Can I call you Mom now?" Not gonna lie, I cried into his hair for a solid 5 minutes. He's 10. He shouldn't have to pick between labels just to feel safe. We sold Dad's old truck a week later. Blue paint, rusted tailgate, smelled like bait and gasoline. Luis helped me clean it out. He found a keychain under the seat, a little compass Dad bought him years ago. "It's broken," Luis said, shaking it. "North is where your family is, right?" He pocketed it. The buyer paid cash, and I put half into Luis's savings account. He asked if we could donate 10% to kids whose parents die. I didn't ask where he got the idea. His therapist says generosity is his way of reclaiming control. The court awarded me damages for Maria's theft, $15, which I'll probably never see. The lawyer says Maria's fleeing to avoid trial, posting Instagram stories from a beach and who knows where. Gold sunglasses, coconut drinks, #blessed. Luis saw one over my shoulder. "She looks happy," he said. "No anger, no sadness, just fact." I wanted to scream. Instead, I ordered pizza and let him eat straight from the box. Luis's school essay got pinned on the fridge. "Family means people who stay," he wrote, "even when you burn the grilled cheese." His teacher sent a note, "Progress." Underneath, in Luis's scratchy pencil, he'd added, "And they don't make you lie." Maria sent a letter last month, no return address, just a loopy scrawl. "You stole my son." Luis held it over the trash can, ripped it twice, and said, "She stole my dad first." His voice didn't even shake. Mine did. My aunt reached out, apologized for the $500 a month she'd sent Maria, for not believing me sooner. She's in therapy now, unraveling decades of guilt. "I thought family meant never saying no," she said. "I told her family means knowing when to say enough." The wedding's back on. October 12th, at the park where Dad taught me to fish. Luis insists on walking me down the aisle with a framed photo of Dad strapped to his chest. "He's gotta see your dress," he said, like it's obvious. My fiancé bought him a tiny suit with dinosaur cufflinks. They're planning a secret handshake for the reception. Found Dad's journal while cleaning the garage. Water-stained pages, mostly grocery lists and fishing forecasts. But on the last entry, a week before he died, "Wish I'd protected my daughter from Maria sooner. She's stronger than I was." I read it in the driveway, knees on concrete, while Luis practiced skateboard tricks nearby. He wiped out, saw my face, and limped over. "Dad's stuff?" he asked. I nodded. He sat down, put his head on my shoulder, and said, "He'd be proud, you know." Maria's trial starts next month. Luis says he'll testify if it helps other kids with moms like her. The prosecutor warned it'll be brutal. Maria's lawyer plans to paint me as a gold-digging manipulator. "Bring it on," Luis said. Then he asked if we could get a dog. The therapist says healing isn't a straight line. Some days, Luis laughs so hard he snorts. Others, he hides under his bed because a door slammed. I sit on the floor and read him fishing trivia until he crawls out. Progress, she says, is him letting me see the cracks. Last night, I tucked him in. Same bed, same Spider-Man sheets. He's too old for bedtime stories, but he still lets me read Holes aloud. Halfway through a chapter, he interrupted. "I'm glad you fought for us," he mumbled into his pillow. I waited for him to add something, but he was already fake snoring. I don't know what us means yet. Maybe it's me, him, and the fiancé who fixes bikes with him on Sundays. Maybe it's Dad's compass keychain, or the donated savings, or the way Luis hums Taylor Swift in the shower. But when I turned off the light, he didn't barricade his door. Just left it open, a crack of hallway light spilling in. Small wins. You stole a fishing boat. Communities, best of Redditor updates. Upvotes, 45.2K.